What it do, peeps? It's the Big Chef from Watch the Damn Tape. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe button. Hit that bell to get notified when I drop my next video. To my new subscribers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the show and I hope you get something from the content. To my day ones, my diehards, thank you for helping me build this platform as we push our way to the 1,000 subscriber mark. Appreciate you so much for everything you do and all the suggestions that you give me. You know, every week I talk about bargaining. Love talking about collective bargaining. Former union member myself, have extensive knowledge in this area. But with that being said, before the Connecticut Sun game, Caitlin Clark basically said that she was going to be in on the meetings this coming week. And this is the first time that the players are going to actually meet with the league face to face. Everything's been pretty much Zoom calls to this point. This is a desperate move, one. Two, it doesn't help Caitlin Clark, period. I've said numerous times, Caitlin Clark should defer to the people that are on the executive board. The Nafisa Collier, the Brianna Stewart, the Wnbpa, those ladies, Elizabeth Williams, the secretary, all those women are on the executive board of the WNBA Players Association. She should defer to them for a number of reasons. Number one, the first reason is the lack of respect that they have given Caitlin Clark since she's been in the league. Number two, you haven't been involved in the negotiations. You haven't been involved in the talks. So you're coming in unprepared, which to the membership, the rest of the players who already, for the most part, do not like you, it doesn't look well. It's not going to sit well when they say, hey, it went this way and it was Caitlin. With that being said, this is what Caitlin Clark said. And this, mind you, this was before the Sun game last night. Let's see. Clark, who is not a player rep for the Fever or on the WNBA's Players Association Executive Committee, confirmed Tuesday before her game against the Connecticut Sun, fitting, you announce that you're going to be bargaining, and you see what happened in that game. Keep that in mind, folks. She says this before the game, and they beat the brakes out of her during the game. Keep that in mind. That she will still be involved in the meetings. She has played a major role in the league's recent surge in popularity. And this is a quote from Caitlin Clark. Obviously, the meetings that are going to happen in Indianapolis are going to be really important. And although I'm not our team rep or on the committee, I'm still trying to understand and engage as much as possible, Clark said. It's my second year in the league, but also this is a very important time for our league and where it's going to continue to grow. I'm certainly looking forward to those meetings being in them, and I think everybody in our league is to help these CBA talks continue to move forward. Should be very important for us on Thursday. This is tomorrow. They're playing the Liberty tonight, and then they're flying home, and then they're going to do this face to face, and then the 3-point shootouts the next day. You don't think those players are going to want to know what happened in those meetings? You know what's going to happen in those meetings? I'm going to tell you as soon as we watch this, because I was just browsing the internet today, and I ran across Cameron Brinks' podcast. Shout out to Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink has a nice podcast. She had Sue Bird on. I'm fast learning Sue Bird is a big snake. But I want you to listen. I'll leave a link in the description of this video to the full interview. They talked about a bunch of stuff, because I'm going to come back to this on another topic they talked about in this conversation. But I just clipped it up so you can hear what they said about bargaining, the rosters, and expansion. So let's take a listen.
John, we were talking about just my opinion was that I think now rosters need to be expanded before, we add any more expansion teams. Like we've had, 3 people out, like now we're at 10 people. Like it puts a lot of strain on, people that are signed to hardships, like, all of that. So how do you think expanding rosters could impact?
Now, I'm going to stop the video right there. The she was lying. The Los Angeles Sparks have 11 people. The league mandates that every team must carry 11 players. So there's never a time on a team where they only have 9 people or 11 people. They have the people on the roster. They have the players on the roster. Right now, she's out. They have 11 that can suit up. So she's being disingenuous when she says that. But let's continue.
Player development, team chemistry, and like the overall competitiveness of the W.
Because what
do you think that? Do you agree with that?
Cam, Megan and I talked about it on our podcast right after you said it.
It made me feel really good about myself. It's like I said something of substance.
I agree and I disagree.
Now, Sue Bird's about to say what I've been saying for the longest. These players talk out of both sides of their mouths, and they're not in unison. And this video is gold. You're gonna hear them all say something totally different. And Sue Bird is the main one leading the choir. Take a listen.
Yeah.
So I'm on both sides in a sense, but like on its face, yeah, WNBA teams need more roster spots for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said it on there. It's like you guys have been on the teams that have dropped to 9, and you can't even do layup lines normal. You can't scrimmage on the road. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm with you that we need to do it. It's just the trade-offs make it trickier, because I know, like in our last CBA, the CBAs before that, I didn't want to give up money for a 13th spot.
That right there is what I'm talking about. That's the reason why they kind of don't want expansion, and they don't want to expand rosters. If they expand rosters, excuse me, if they expand rosters, they want the salary cap to grow, because they want a fat cat. Right now, it's basically a fat cat league on a budget. They get a small budget, and they're allowed to give a perfect example, the Aces. The Aces have a few players making $200,000. The salary cap is only about $1.5 million. So if you got Jewel Lloyd making a quarter, you got Jackie Young making a quarter, you got Asia Wilson making a quarter, you got Chelsea Young making a quarter. Think about that right there. It's almost $1 million between those players. The rest of the roster has to be filled out with what I told you before the season started: basement level players. That's why I said all rookies are basement level players, regardless of the talent, because they're only making about $70-something thousand. It's easy to fit a bunch of basement players in on your salary cap when you only have limited space and they're not taking up a lot. But the other side of that is you got a weak roster that's top heavy, top loaded with super talent. But once you get into that bench, if that bench doesn't perform, those starters have to play heavy minutes. Think about the Indiana Fever this year. Caitlin Clark's playing about 30 minutes a game, 35 minutes a game. Colson was only playing like 5 minutes. To spell her, the longer you play, the more susceptible to injuries that you become. That's it. That's the reason. That's why Sue Bird was telling the truth and a lie at the same time. They really do not want to grow the game. In order to grow the game, you would have to provide jobs, which would mean expanded teams. Expanded teams gives you an opportunity to provide 12 more jobs. They're not saying that. What they're saying is we want a larger salary and we want to keep the roster spot. We want to add a one or two more spots for low end jobs so that we can get the big money and that every team would have a fat cat situation. You'd have a few handful of players making all the top money, and then you'd have a bunch of basement low paid players. And let's continue with what Sue Bird says, and she validates it in just a second.
Because once you start adding players, everybody has to give up a little bit of money. So that's where it gets a little tricky. But I actually think expansion, the teams expanding, helps player development more, to be honest. Because like look at the Valkyries, right? So like those 12 players, they're going to get more run than if they wouldn't literally be the 12th player on any of these WNBA teams. Don't take that literally. Those players would be playing also, but you get what I'm saying. Like they would get less playing time. So I think more teams does help the issue of player development. But teams need an extra spot or two because we see it every year. Every year, some team gets hit with injuries and it becomes a whole big thing. So that the league needs to. In the CBA negotiations, I think the players and the league will probably talk about that. Hopefully they land somewhere.
Now, I was doing my research. The league started in 97. They've had 5 collective bargaining agreements. The last one is the one that they just opted out of, and that was in 2020. Sue Bird was probably a part of 2 of those. Not one time in the history of the WNBA have they really fought that hard to get expanded rosters like the NBA 15 players. They haven't done it to that level. They expanded the rosters one time. It was in the early 2000s to what it currently is. They don't push for expansion the way they claim it because they want to eat. I mean, you got to think about it, folks. This is the best part-time job in the world. Like Candace Parker said on a podcast, this was her summer job. Those are her words. She said that on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast. The WNBA was her summer job. She went overseas to do her real job. So, like I said, they do not do themselves a service by always constantly talking publicly. But when she mentioned the Valkyries, like I told you in a previous video, the Valkyries is the model that the league wants to go to. They want to thin out the players and just give an entertaining team. The Valkyries are an entertaining team with no big star. That's what the league wants. The players don't want that. The players want less teams, more money to split amongst a few players. That's why I say it's not about the growth of the game. They use the term growth of the game to get a feel good story and say, they're doing it for the next gen. They don't care about the next generation. If they cared about the next generation, they wouldn't be treating Caitlin Clark like crap. But let's continue.
Yeah. What do you think?
So I agree. I see both sides.
Yeah. I think it's crazy how people are like, well, just add a development league. I'm like, are you crazy?
Well, now we have AU and Unrivaled, and I mean, it kind of seems like the players that did Unrivaled and even AU, it's like translating a little bit more.
I think everyone that's been a part of that has improved. I mean, it makes that you're getting more runs. But
we'll see about maybe the fatigue aspect of it, kind of similarly to going overseas, obviously.
Now, that was De'Erica Hamby speaking. She's also on the Sparks. When Cameron Brink brought up developmental league and scoffed at it, she didn't realize that Unrivaled technically is a developmental league, and so is Athletes Unlimited. Both of those are developmental leagues. Nobody hardly watched either one, but they were developmental leagues, which in turn also added wear and tear on the players. That's huge, especially with the contract negotiations that are going on now. If the league pays them more money, which I believe the league will give them a bump in pay, it's not going to be the level of what they want, but they will get a bump in pay. They're going to give them a small raise. And it's still going to be somewhat of a fat cat league, but some of the bottom players, the basement players, the ones on my rankings that I call studio level players, like a Ariel Atkins, they will also get a pay raise, a bump in pay, and the rookies that are coming in for the years to come will be getting a raise as well. Also, while doing my research, especially on the CBA, they get like I said, this new deal started in 2020. They get an opt-out window. They can opt out of the contract in any year of the contract, and it's at a certain time frame. It's around October. So if we did a pop quiz, why didn't the players opt out of the contract in 2023 when Asia Wilson was just won a title? They just beat the Liberty, the dominant player in the league, the face of the league at the time. Why didn't they opt out of the contract then? Do you know what made them opt out the contract? It's two words, and it's got a 22 associated with it. It's Caitlin Clark. So these players knew Caitlin Clark was coming. They might not have known to the level that the fandom that hit the league. But they saw the money aspect because they saw that evaluation on that TV deal, and that was attributed to Caitlin Clark. But they couldn't give her credit, and they still can't give her credit. So they could have opted out of the deal with Asia Wilson when they said that the popularity of the league. Remember, ESPN had a thing where they discounted 24 and they went straight to 2023. The players didn't opt out of the contract then. The players weren't complaining about the roster sizes then. The players weren't complaining about expansion then. What it is, Caitlin Clark brought in a wave of new money and interest. The players see it, the league sees it, and in turn, that slices up their pie. Caitlin Clark disrupted their ecosystem. Yes, they benefit off of Caitlin Clark's presence in the league, but they would rather have the fame and the money that comes with Caitlin Clark coming to the league and not have Caitlin Clark. So for these negotiations, this is how it's going to play out to me. This is just my opinion. Y'all can beat me up in the comments if you disagree. You bring Caitlin Clark in. She's unprepared. You've already taken ass whoopings in the preliminary negotiations, the first initial offer, as they called it, and it was an offer that wasn't substantial for what they liked. So remember when they said in 25 days we're gonna have some kind of scene. That's still yet to remain to be seen what they're gonna do. Are they gonna boycott, picket, do something before the All-Star game, make a stand, whatever, not come out or whatever they're gonna do. Who knows? But Breonna Stewart was on record saying it was going to get spicy. Was the spice Caitlin Clark? Is the question. This is how it's going to go. Caitlin Clark's going in unprepared. There's no way that young lady crying last night in Connecticut with a bad groin, missing tonight's game against the Liberty with that same said bad groin, not having any briefings, been in any contract calls. Aaliyah Boston's your union rep. She's not going to be able to give you detailed. Aaliyah Boston's not on those Zoom calls to that level. So they're setting Caitlin Clark up to be the fall woman for this failed meeting. If you think the vitriol that she's faced in the first half of the season was bad, and it's been bad, wait until after these talks and watch the onslaught on that court, how they take it out on her. These players are using Caitlin Clark as a human shield against these owners. People, I was in a Facebook group and they were talking about Caitlin Clark and being on the bargaining team, and I said she should gracefully decline. And people were on both sides of the fence when they were replying to that my comment. And it wasn't anti-union. I'm just like, hey, if I'm Caitlin Clark, I have to understand the temperature in the room. You're not liked. They just had a recent poll by 40 something players, 40 players in the league anonymous on who is the face of the league. Caitlin Clark was first of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark was first. Juju Watkins had 14%. Paige Beckers was on the list. And Angel Reese was way down. They put Juju Watkins on a list, and the question was WNBA players that are the face of the league. So those 44 people, whatever it was, I'll try to find it and put it at the end of this video. Those are the same people that you're representing. And they didn't even agree unanimously or in a large percentage. They put a college kid that may not ever play in the league on the list for the face of the WNBA. Juju Watkins. That's disrespect at its finest. And that's what Caitlin Clark is representing. Disrespect. Because she wants to be accepted. I feel sorry for Caitlin Clark. She grew up loving this league, but she has no idea about these women and the levels and the lowness they'll stoop to. The people that should be talking at this meeting and speaking is Nafisa Collier, Breonna Stewart, Nneka. That's who should be speaking at this meeting. The people that are on the executive committee, not Caitlin Clark. People were telling me she's got a marketing degree. That don't mean shit. A marketing degree. Caitlin Clark is going into basically, essentially, this is the WNBA version of Shark Tank. Everybody up there is a multi-millionaire, billionaire. They don't care about a 23-year-old kid that plays basketball. Her money is insignificant. Her degree is irrelevant. Her fame, her notoriety, they give two shits about. Caitlin Clark can be in this league, or she could not be in this league. They wouldn't care one way or the other. They'll still use this league as a tax write-off. Because that's what it is. That's how they operate it, as a tax write-off. That's the reason why they are not putting a heavy investment into training. They're not putting a heavy investment into paying and educating the referees, building a referee system. This is not the NBA. This is the WNBA, worst National Basketball Association. And they're putting Caitlin Clark at the front of the line to take the ambush that was waiting for them. That's my thoughts on this. Shout out to Cameron Brinks for dropping that jewel, because it gives insight into how they really think. Cameron Brinks really doesn't want that expansion. She wants that bigger check. Dearica Hamby said a totally different thing. I kind of agree with both. That's splitting it down the middle. You can't have it both ways. And that's why Sue Bird was telling the lie and telling the truth. And when Sue Bird said, I kind of see it both ways, and there's some trade-offs. The key thing was trade-offs. And that is the main essence of any bargaining. There's always trade-offs. The company puts something on the table. The union says, I want this. The company pulls something off. That's how it goes. It goes like that back and forth. These ladies are not prepared to bargain. And they're bringing Caitlin Clark in, who hasn't had any experience bargaining, knows nothing about what's going on except for what she's heard. They're setting Caitlin Clark up once again. But let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.